welcome to you both, and of course we need to talk to you first now that you've joined us on stage. And I think we need to pick up on where we left off about resilience and about the future of communities in the High North. And Madeleine, we heard from Tani particular concerns about the role, the place of women in Arctic societies and communities. You are a mayor of Iqaluit. So talk about your own community and how you've addressed the gender issues that Tani was talking about earlier.
Well, for those who don't know where Iqaluit is, it's situated on South Baffin, which is an island next to Greenland. We're the capital city of Nunavut, a relatively new territory that turns 20 this year. And with a population of approximately 8,000, the largest, we've got about 25% of the people in Nunavut live there. Tremendous growth, which also means tremendous challenges and opportunities, not just as a woman or as an Indigenous person. Trying to very much ensure that Iqaluit owns its potential of being an Indigenous and Inuit capital. The whole goal of signing our land claim agreement was to achieve a form of self-government, where 85% of the population Inuit. In Iqaluit, it's down to about 60%, so we want to ensure we don't lose it.
You mean you want to ensure you don't lose that majority? Well,
not just the majority, but also the whole sense of what we wanted to achieve, which is, self-government exists everywhere. So Tromsø is a form of self-government. Norway, Greenland, United States, Japan, and the cities within, or the regional sub-regions. So unfortunately, you put the word Indigenous in front of it, all of a sudden you tend to get this fear of the Western world or mainstream societies, like, oh my God, what does that mean? And it means that we have the opportunity to run government based on our values, based on our priorities, and determining, where we allocate our budget and resources. So, we intrinsically understand that the systems may look very similar from country to country, but Norway feels different than Sweden, feels different than Czechoslovakia, feels different than India. And that's okay. It's a democratic system. Therefore, what we really want to ensure is, as some of the folks said earlier, is that in our own region where we come from and where we live, is the opportunity to participate, ideally in proportional levels, and that includes women. So unfortunately, like most of Canada and a lot of the world except for places like Iceland, women participation in politics is woefully low. I'm the mayor of the capital and I have 7 male councillors, so I don't even have a female peer around my table, and that's really common. We have an important contribution to make, and it sort of annoys me often how the perception is that we're only going to care about childcare and housing, and we do, don't get me wrong, but we also care about development. We want to ensure that development is done responsibly and that we benefit from it. Actually, I just wanted to also add that it's in gender analysis, there's often a perception that women do worse. What we're seeing is back home, a lot of Inuit women are the ones graduating. We unfortunately have very low graduation rates, but of those who are graduating, 75 to 85% of them are young women. And those that go on to post-secondary education are women.
But isn't that then a problem, as we heard earlier, with out-migration rates where women, more than young men, are going out of the community to get their higher education and are not coming back?
Well, that's why we need a university. Now, can you imagine your country not having a university? And that is what it feels like for us, is that you have to leave not only your home community, but your region. And as such, that's a huge instantly brain drain out of the community. So I was very fortunate. I was able to do my law degree in Iqaluit because the partners actually brought up the University of Victoria. So I was able to participate in all the sort of the things that were happening, the discussions around the Education Act and the Wildlife Act and those community consultations on those legislation, because I was there. And so we desperately, when the man from Singapore, when you asked earlier, why would we care? Well, actually, I've been paying attention to places like Singapore and seeing how they've advanced in 50 years and sort of going, what that is a way in which to ensure that our region and our people and our society do well. We're not new to innovation or technology as Indigenous people in the Arctic. If anything, the very reason why we have survived and thrived is because we have been smart and we have been innovative, we have been technological people. That's why we embrace new forms of technology. I always feel that anyone who says that, technology is going to threaten our culture, usually I want to kick them, but because we've actually seen that technology can actually support and promote and advance our culture. We have a problem with language loss, and so with online courses and content, we can, share that amongst ourselves, except that, of course, like Ken Coates said this morning, the technological challenge is really the poor in telecommunications infrastructure.
If I may, I'm going to stop you there because there's so much interesting about your account of your own community that's really important. But I'm getting the feeling, education, a huge driver of empowerment and development in your community in the way that you want it to be, because the young people can, if you get what you want with a higher education system locally and everything else, they'll be educated in their community and then work with their communities afterward. But let's not, and we've talked about jobs, we've talked about technology. One thing we haven't talked about in terms of developing resilient communities in the High North is culture, arts and culture, which is where you come in, Evgeny.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. So tell us a little bit, because I know, frankly, nothing about it, but tell me a little bit about the Arctic Theatre in Murmansk and why you believe it's important beyond just giving people entertainment.
First of all, why I believe it's possible, because I come from Murmansk. I'm from this other part of Arctic, where suspicion is the main instrument in politics, where Murmansk was 500,000 population in '85. Now it's less than 300,000.
Really?
We're losing 14,000 people a year.
Wow.
So why would I, a young person, well, former young person, would...
To me, you're very young, but carry on, yeah.
Why would I establish a theater in a city that's losing population?
Is it your home city?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and my parents as well. And young people especially, they want to leave, despite of the fact that it's quite a big city with a lot of possibilities. Well, my strong urge is that theater is a different language. We're talking here about education and things like that, but there's the culture. It addresses something more different than the brain. It talks about how can we take this idea out of the head or the book and transform it to another head and heart. And this is a language you cannot, science doesn't provide this language, and because it speaks about motivation, about the motives, what drives me. And Klaus said here about being more theatrical. And I think that means that we have to understand, like when an actor goes on stage, he has to understand what does his character wishes most, right? If he doesn't understand that, he will never be able to play this character. So theater provides this opportunity to connect myself to the character, because, every one of us can play any part. We just need to find it in ourselves. Yeah, and also culture is a great instrument for people-to-people cooperation. And it's always been the basis of everything. It comes first. It comes before science, before military, before everything. It's culture. It's a person meeting another person.
So do you think, in the context of Murmansk, which is a city of declining population, maybe of declining morale, I don't know whether you would say that, but do you think that having the theatre has made a difference to the wider sort of mood, spirit of the place?
Spirit, that's the word. Because we all want to follow a leader. You know, if a leader as a person, a leader as a country. You know, we follow, like many people love America because it has this, you know, Hollywood spirit, you know, the success and everything. And Murmansk doesn't, you know, and I think Arctica lacks the spirit of success, of like, if you want to ask someone, would you like to move to Arctica? I think most of the population would say, not really. You know, there's nothing there in means of success and my self-realization, you know, and maybe that's something we should think about. How can we can provide jobs for certain, we can provide education. Will a person be happy with this?
Yeah, I'm loving this panel because in a way, I don't know if you were listening to Göran talking about his dreams for his new city, but when we were talking more prosaically about jobs and, you know, high-tech internet and connectivity.
I can second what's just been said here, because before we started building the new city, we were very careful in interviewing people on what their dreams and their aspirations were. And so much came out, not about the practical things, roads and houses, infrastructure, but about culture. And theater was one expression of culture, but there are many expressions of culture, and they came out as crucial for building something that was sustainable and attractive. So interesting.
And do you think, I mean, I'm not saying that it's all going to come down to the success of one theatre, but do you think the sorts of things that you're encouraging in Murmansk, a much more positive, spirited vision of what the city can be, is it beginning to make a difference?
Oh boy, I don't think so yet, because as I said, Russia is a different country. Unfortunately, I have to say that there's more obstacles in the minds, in the closed-minded, in the closed minds of people than opportunities. However, what we established, and I think it's a great progress, is that Barents region, you know, a part of Arctic, a great part of Arctic, is a symbol of peace and great people-to-people cooperation. When I think about Barents region, I think it's the greatest example there is when people of different spheres like sports and culture and science can get together without any prejudices and create something amazing. And we've experienced this in Murmansk, in Tromsø, in Kirkenes, and we exchange these ideas all the time. And I think if something bad happens somewhere in the world, Barents region will be the last to experience that. Because it's resilient or die hard.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I know I've already said we're almost out of time, and I was wrong that time, but this time I am right, we're almost out of time. So if anybody's got any insight, because I love the way we've sort of, now I'm being told we don't have time. I'm told on my timer we do have time, but let's see if there's one question as a lottery winner you can ask, if you have one, the last question of today's session. Is anybody has got something on their mind, a question or a comment they want to make? You, madam, you win the lottery. You have the last comment of the day.
Hi, thank you. My name is Kristin Häggland. I'm from UIT, and I would like to address the question to Monica. Do you think it is smart to start drilling oil or opening up for oil drilling in the Barents Sea, which holds the world's largest cod population?
My view is yes. The government's view is no. We have a platform in the government, as I'm sure you know, that says no, not in this period. But my view is yes.
Right. Well, that's an honest and fairly straightforward response, and that's good news because I am now out of time. So having prematurely
we can have a discussion,
ended the session, I have really enjoyed this panel, and Yevgeny, it's great to have you on board as well, giving a little sort of cultural input as well as all the discussion of economics and politics. It's great to end with some passion and spirit from the world of art and culture as well. So all of my panel, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being patient and sticking with us throughout the full day. I know you've got other workshops and things to do later this afternoon, and I promise you I'll be back here tomorrow, so I hope you will be too. But for now, thank you very much indeed. Thanks a lot.